Move that lumber over to frame 6. Copy that. Watch the excavator coming through.
She smiled, like she owned everything. Like the land beneath my feet belonged to her. Behind her, 10 cabins were rising out of the ground. Wood, nails, workers moving fast, tools hitting surfaces in a rhythm that didn't belong here. And then she said something I'll never forget. "You're trespassing." Pause. On my own island. Long pause, let that sink in. For a second, I didn't react. Not because I didn't understand what she said, but because my mind refused to accept it. How do you respond to something that makes absolutely no sense? How do you argue with someone who is so confident, so certain, that they've already decided you don't belong? Pause. And the worst part? She didn't look confused. She didn't look unsure. She looked comfortable. Like this moment had already played out in her head. And in every version of it, she was right. I didn't buy that island for luxury. I didn't buy it to impress anyone. And I definitely didn't buy it to turn it into something loud, crowded, or controlled. I bought it for silence. Real silence. The kind you don't realize you need until you finally experience it. For years, my life had been nothing but noise. Not just physical noise, but mental noise. Deadlines chasing me. Phones ringing. Messages piling up. People needing something all the time. It didn't matter how much I achieved or how much I built. There was always something pulling me back into chaos. Pause. And after a while, you stop feeling like you're in control of your own life. You just react. You wake up, respond, solve problems, sleep, and repeat. Over and over again. Until one day, I realized something simple. If I didn't step away, even for a little while, I was going to lose something I couldn't get back. Peace. That's when I found the island. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't massive. It didn't have buildings or structures or anything impressive. And that's exactly why I wanted it. It was untouched, quiet, disconnected from everything that made life feel heavy. The first time I saw it, I didn't even step off the boat right away. I just sat there looking at it, listening, waiting. And for the first time in a long time, there was nothing. No sound of traffic. No distant voices. No pressure. Just wind moving through trees. And water touching the shore. Pause. That was enough. The day I officially bought it felt different. Not exciting in a loud way. Not overwhelming. Just certain. Like I had finally made a decision that was truly mine. No opinions. No outside influence. Just me choosing something for myself. I remember stepping onto the sand that day, looking around slowly, and thinking, this is mine. Pause. Not rented. Not shared. Not borrowed. Not temporary. Mine. And that word meant more than ownership. It meant control. It meant space. It meant that for once, there was a place in this world where nothing could be taken from me. My visits became routine. Not because I had to go, but because I wanted to. Early mornings were my favorite. I'd leave before the world fully woke up. The water would still be calm, almost flat. No waves. No movement. Just a quiet path leading straight to the island. Sometimes I wouldn't even play music. I'd just sit there, letting the silence do its work. Because silence isn't empty. It's full of things you don't hear anywhere else. Pause. Your thoughts slow down. Your breathing changes. You start noticing things. The way light reflects on water. The sound of wind shifting direction. Even your own heartbeat feels clearer. Some days, I'd stay for hours. Other days, I'd stay overnight. No strict plan. No schedule. I'd walk along the shoreline, leaving footprints that no one else would see. Sit under the trees, watching shadows move as the sun shifted. Sometimes I'd close my eyes, just to feel the moment fully. No distractions. No urgency. No one expecting anything from me. Pause. And slowly, over time, that island stopped being just a place. It became part of me. A reset button. A reminder that life didn't have to feel rushed. That's why what happened next didn't just feel wrong. It felt personal. Because peace doesn't disappear slowly. It doesn't warn you. It doesn't prepare you. Pause. It shatters. That morning started like every other. Clear sky. Soft light. Calm water. Nothing unusual. Nothing out of place. But as I got closer, something shifted. Not something I could immediately explain. Just a feeling. A small discomfort. Like something wasn't where it should be. Pause. At first, I ignored it. Thought maybe I was overthinking. But then I saw them. Boats. Not one. Not two. Several. Docked near my shore like they had every right to be there. Pause. That didn't make sense. No one came here. No one even knew about this island. I never shared it. Never posted about it. Never gave anyone a reason to find it. So how were they here? As I got closer, that feeling turned into something else. Tension. The kind that builds quietly, but quickly. And then I heard it. Hammering. Sharp. Repetitive. Metal hitting metal. Voices overlapping. Movement. Energy. Noise. Pause. The kind of noise that doesn't belong in a place like that. The kind of noise that destroys everything the island was meant to be. I stepped off the boat faster than usual. My mind was already trying to make sense of it. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe someone got the wrong location. Maybe it was temporary. Something explainable. Something fixable. Pause. But the moment my feet hit the sand, I knew. This wasn't temporary. I walked forward slowly, each step bringing more into view. And then, I stopped. Completely. Because what I saw didn't feel real. Cabins. Structures already halfway built. Wooden frames standing tall like they had been there for weeks. Tools scattered across the ground. Workers moving with purpose, like they had a deadline. Like this was normal. Like this was expected. Pause. Not one cabin. Not two. 10. 10 structures rising from land that didn't belong to them. Land that I had owned. Land that I had protected. Land that was supposed to stay untouched. For a moment. Just a moment. I questioned myself. Maybe there was some overlap. Some legal confusion. Some detail I missed. Because surely, this many people wouldn't just build on land without knowing. Pause. But deep down, I already knew the truth. This wasn't a mistake. This was someone taking control. Without asking. Without checking. Without caring. And then I saw her. Standing right in the middle of it all. Not working. Not rushing. Just watching. Calm. Confident. Completely in control of everything happening around her. Pause. She didn't look surprised to see me. Didn't look concerned. Didn't even look curious. She just stood there. Like she had been expecting this moment. That's when everything became clear. This wasn't random. This wasn't accidental. This was planned. Every cabin. Every worker. Every decision. Pause. And somehow, in all of that planning, they decided this land wasn't mine. I started walking toward her. Slowly. Deliberately. Not rushing. Not reacting. But every step felt heavier. Because with every step, the reality became harder to ignore. Workers looked at me briefly, then went back to what they were doing. No one stopped. No one questioned anything. Because to them, I didn't belong there. Pause. On my own land. And then she turned, looked straight at me, and smiled. Not a friendly smile. Not a confused one. A controlled smile. The kind people use when they think they're in charge. Pause. And in that moment, everything changed. What is going on here? I asked. No greeting. No small talk. No attempt to soften the moment. Just the question that needed an answer. Pause. My voice wasn't loud. But it didn't need to be. Because everything around us was already loud enough. Hammers hitting wood. Voices overlapping. Tools scraping against surfaces. And right in the middle of all that noise, there was her. Still. Calm. Unbothered. She tilted her head slightly. Like I was the one who didn't understand what was happening. Like I had just walked into something obvious and somehow missed it. You must be lost, she said calmly. Pause. Lost. For a second, I actually considered it. Not because I believed her, but because the situation was so unreal that my brain tried to find any explanation that made sense. Lost. On my own island? Pause. I almost laughed. Not out of humor, but out of disbelief. Because there's something unsettling about hearing someone say something so wrong. With so much confidence. This property is part of our development project, she continued. Her tone didn't shake. Not even slightly. No hesitation. No doubt. Just certainty. The kind of certainty that doesn't come from truth, but from habit. From being right too many times in situations where no one challenged you. Pause. And that's what made it dangerous. Because people like that don't question themselves. They don't stop to double check. They don't consider that they might be wrong. They move forward, assuming everything will fall into place around them. Behind her, the workers kept moving. No one slowed down. No one paused to listen. Because to them, this was normal. This was just another job. Another location. Another piece of land that had already been approved, processed, signed off. Pause. And that told me something important. This wasn't last minute. This wasn't rushed. This had been planned. Organized. Executed. Without a single moment where someone thought, Maybe we should check who owns this. This is my island, I said. Clear. Direct. No, I didn't just buy that island casually. I made sure it was mine. Legally. Completely. Without question. This land isn't unclaimed, I said slowly. I didn't rush the words. Didn't try to overpower her. Because I didn't need to. Pause. It's mine. She didn't respond immediately. And for a second, I thought maybe, just maybe, this was the moment things would shift. The moment reality would catch up. The moment she would stop, think, reassess. Pause. But instead, she smiled. Not a nervous smile. Not an uncertain one. A controlled smile. The kind people use when they believe they're still in control. Even when they're not. You need to leave, she said. Pause. Not asked. Not suggested. Told. Like a command. Like a final decision had already been made. And I wasn't part of it. The tone changed. Subtly. But clearly. This wasn't conversation anymore. This was authority. Or at least, what she believed was authority. You're interfering with an authorized construction site, she added. Pause. Interfering. On my own land. For a moment. I just stood there. Not reacting. Not responding. Just processing. Because sometimes the situation becomes so absurd that reacting immediately doesn't make sense. Pause. You have to let it settle. You have to understand exactly what's happening before you decide what to do next. And then she said it. The line that pushed everything past the point of patience. If you don't leave, I'll call security. Pause longer. Security. The word echoed in my head for a second. Not because it was threatening, but because it was ridiculous. Pause. Security. On an island she didn't own. Against the person who did. That's when something shifted inside me. Not anger. Not frustration. Something quieter. Something more controlled. Pause. Clarity. Because in that moment, everything made sense. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't an accident. Pause. Clarity. Because in that moment, everything made sense. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't an accident. This was someone who had built their entire confidence on never being challenged. Someone who had moved through situations like this before. And won. Because no one pushed back. No one questioned. No one stood in front of them and said, "You're wrong." And now, for the first time, they had. Pause. Me. I looked around one more time. At the cabins. At the workers. At the tools. At everything that shouldn't have been there. Pause. And then I looked back at her. Still standing there. Still confident. Still certain this would end the way she expected. That's when I realized something important. Talking wasn't going to fix this. Explaining wasn't going to fix this. Arguing definitely wasn't going to fix this. Pause. Because she wasn't listening. She was enforcing. So I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't react the way she expected me to. Pause. Instead, I stepped back. It was a small movement, but it changed the dynamic. Because stepping back doesn't always mean retreating. Sometimes, it means preparing. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and for the first time since this started, I looked completely calm. Pause. Not defensive. Not frustrated. Calm. She noticed it. I could see it in her expression. A slight shift. A moment of curiosity. Because that wasn't the reaction she expected. Pause. She expected resistance. Emotion. Maybe even anger. But not this. I unlocked my phone slowly. Deliberately. Not rushing. Not hesitating. Pause. And then I made the call. Short. Simple. No unnecessary words. No explanation. Just confirmation. Because I already knew the truth. I just needed to bring it into the moment. Pause. And when I ended that call, everything was about to change. When I walked back, everything felt different. Not outside. Outside, nothing had changed. The same cabins. The same workers. The same noise filling the air. But inside, something had shifted. Pause. I wasn't angry anymore. The frustration that had been building since I arrived was gone. Not because the situation improved, but because I understood it now. Completely. Pause. I wasn't reacting anymore. I wasn't trying to explain myself. I wasn't trying to prove anything with words. Pause. I was in control. Each step I took toward her felt steady. Measured. No hesitation. No doubt. Pause. Because when you know the truth, you don't rush. You don't panic. You don't argue. You just let it unfold. She was still standing there. Arms crossed. Watching me. Waiting. Pause. There was something in her expression now. Not fear. Not yet. But curiosity. A small shift from before. Because she had noticed something change. She just didn't know what. "You're very confident," I said. Pause. My voice was calm, almost quiet, but it carried, because silence around us had started to grow. She didn't smile this time, didn't tilt her head, didn't pretend I was confused. Pause. She crossed her arms tighter, like she was reinforcing her position, holding on to it. "Last warning," she said. Pause. Short, sharp, final, or at least, that's what she thought. For a second, I just looked at her, really looked, not at the confidence she was showing, but at the certainty she was holding on to. Pause. Because people don't double down like that unless they truly believe they're right. Or, they've never been proven wrong before. I didn't respond to the warning, didn't acknowledge it. Pause. Instead, I reached into my bag, slowly, deliberately, no sudden movement, no urgency, and I pulled out the papers. Nothing dramatic about them. No special markings. No bold colors. Just documents. Simple, clear, legal. Pause. But sometimes, the simplest things carry the most weight. I held them out toward her. Not forcefully. Not aggressively. Just offering them. Pause. Read. One word. That's all it took. She looked at the papers for a second, then back at me. Pause. Like she was deciding whether this was even worth her time. Because in her mind, this was already over. She had already won. But then she took them, casually, almost carelessly, like it was just a formality. Like nothing written there could possibly change anything. Pause. And for a moment, nothing happened. Her eyes moved across the page, quickly at first, skimming, scanning. Pause. The way you read something you don't expect to matter. Then, she stopped. It wasn't sudden. It wasn't dramatic. Just a pause. A break in motion. Pause. Her eyes stayed in one place. Focused. Still. Something shifted. It's hard to explain that moment unless you've seen it. That exact second when confidence meets reality. And reality doesn't match. Pause. Her expression didn't collapse all at once. It changed in layers. First, a slight tightening around her eyes. Then, a small shift in her posture. Almost unnoticeable, but real. She adjusted her grip on the papers, held them a little closer. Pause. And started reading again. This time, slower, careful, like she was searching for something. An error, a mistake, anything that would bring her back to certainty. Pause. But it wasn't there. "This isn't right," she said quietly. Not loud, not confident, not commanding. Pause. Quiet. And that was the moment everything changed. Because that sentence wasn't for me. Pause. It was for her. It was the first crack. "It is," I replied. Pause. Simple. Direct. No emotion behind it. Because I didn't need any. "You built 10 cabins on land you don't own." I didn't raise my voice. Didn't emphasize the words. Pause. I just let them exist. And that's when it hit her. Not partially. Not gradually. Fully. Pause. Like a realization that couldn't be pushed away. Couldn't be explained. Couldn't be avoided. Her shoulders dropped. Just slightly. But enough. Pause. Her eyes moved again across the page. But now they weren't searching. They were confirming. Confirming what she already knew. There was no denial left. No argument forming. No explanation ready. Pause. Just reality. Behind her, the noise started to fade. Not all at once, but piece by piece. A hammer stopped. Then another. Voices lowered. Movement slowed. Pause. Because people notice things. Even when no one says anything. They notice tension. They notice silence. They notice when something shifts. And right now, everything had shifted. The workers looked toward us. Not directly. Not openly. But enough. Pause. Because they could feel it. Something wasn't right anymore. Tools went quiet. Completely. Pause. No one spoke. Because in that moment, everyone understood. Even if they didn't know the details. They knew one thing. The situation had changed. Completely. She lowered the papers slightly. Still holding them. Still looking at them. Pause. But no longer in control. And that's the thing about control. It doesn't disappear loudly. Pause. It fades. Quietly. Within hours. Everything stopped. No announcements. No big confrontation. No dramatic shutdown. Pause. Just decisions being made. Calls being placed. Instructions being given. Work slowed. Then paused. Then ended. The same people who had been building confidently were now packing up. Quietly. Pause. No one arguing. No one questioning. Because when the truth becomes clear, there's nothing left to defend. Calls started coming in. From people who weren't there earlier. From people who suddenly wanted to clarify the situation. Pause. Explanations followed. Then apologies. Then attempts to shift responsibility. But none of it mattered. Because the reality had already been established. Clear. Undeniable. Final. Pause. The land wasn't theirs. It never was. And those cabins? They didn't last long. Weeks later, I came back. Same boat. Same path across the water. Pause. But this time, no tension. No uncertainty. Just quiet. The kind of quiet that feels earned. I stepped onto the sand again. Slowly. Taking it in. Pause. No structures. No tools. No workers. No noise. Just the sound of the ocean. Returning to what it always was. I walked the same path I used to. Along the shoreline. Past the trees. Pause. And it felt the same. Like nothing had happened. But at the same time, different. Because now, that peace meant more. Not just because it existed, but because it had been challenged. And protected. I stood there for a while. Looking out at the water. Pause. Thinking about everything that happened. And one thought stayed clear. Confidence doesn't equal ownership. Just because someone believes something doesn't make it true. And sometimes, the person who speaks the loudest is the one who knows the least. Pause. And sometimes, the person who says the least is the one who owns everything. So next time someone looks at you and tells you, you don't belong here. Pause. Don't rush to argue. Don't rush to react. Just make sure you know one thing. Whether you're standing on your land, pause, or theirs,